Welcome, welcome, welcome to Lady G's Financial Legacy Pop-Up Podcast. And today I have a very special guest with me. We are going to be talking about building a financial safety net, why it matters, and how to start. And my special guest is none other than Amber Cody. And I'm going to have Amber give us a little background on her, and then we're going to get into the conversation. Amber, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello there. Well, I am a Black American woman who is born and raised in Decatur, Georgia. I have a license in insurance, and my specialty is life insurance. I'm a licensed financial professional. However, like I said, I specialize in life insurance specifically because it's something near and dear to my heart, along with all things financial.
I think that's something that we definitely have in common because we've had conversations before on the importance of people knowing how important life insurance is and the use of it. I think, we both are passionate on speaking. So just to be able to say that this is the relaunch of this podcast and to have you as my first guest is just it's so in place because I believe as the first episode is launched, people need to hear how passionate we are, and the episodes that are going to come after, I believe, will follow suit. So I am very happy and very pleased to have you today. So we're going to get into it. And I'm going to ask you a question, and then I will give my perspective also, so that we can have I want to have dialogue on this topic. So my first question to you would be, can you share a bit about your background, which you just did, but if you want to give us any more, that's fine. And what led you to specialize in financial wellness?
So, a little personal is when I was 31 years old, I was diagnosed with a hot appendix, as they say, which was going to rupture at any moment. And I had a stranded stone on that appendix called an appendicolite,
Wow.
meaning it would have caused basically instant death had it ruptured. That left me hospitalized for 8 days with complications, and I nearly lost my life. Again, 31 years old, thinking, oh, I've got a whole life ahead of me, but
30.
apparently not if I'm laid up in the hospital at the age of 31. So I was thinking, I don't have children, but I have nieces and nephews, and several of them I'm extremely close with. My thought process was if I, as the aunt who likes to have fun and spoil them, am no longer here, what is going to take the place of my presence? And to me, that would be something financial, financial assistance, financial literacy, building credit, something of that nature. And in our community, I realized we don't talk about life insurance. And so I got a little curious and started researching it over some time. And it did take me quite a while, but I eventually, after speaking with a dear friend, was encouraged to go for getting my license because I was just always so passionate when I spoke about it to others that people literally would ask me, "Oh, so what kind do you offer?" And I'm like, "I don't do life insurance. I just talk about it." And I just thought, yeah, it is time for me to maybe dip my toe into the life insurance industry there.
And how has the experience been? Have you enjoyed being able to help people protect themselves and their families?
Absolutely fulfilling. This is truly a passion for me. And seeing how people light up when they realize life insurance is not just to leave your loved ones when you die. You can put the life back in life insurance, and that is what I enjoy educating people on.
And we have something in common. We're both life insurance, but our independent businesses, which just means that we have a more of services and companies that we can offer to people. So I love that we are in the business. And I want to ask you, if somebody wanted to get into the business of life insurance, is it something that you would recommend? And if someone has the question, well, is it hard? How would you respond to that person?
Well, I would absolutely recommend it if and only if they're passionate about it, because otherwise it's something that
Agree.
people know you're just trying to make a sale. So if you're not passionate about it, you're literally just trying to push a product that they don't care anything about, and you lose them on the education side. As far as the difficulty, it was not easy. However, it was so interesting learning as much as I did while I was studying for the exam to be licensed. So I still would recommend it, regardless of the difficulty.
And that's another thing that we have in common. And I am not about to get into it on this podcast, at least not this episode. But I have always shared my testimony about how I started in the business and the enemy fought me on the day that I took the test. And when I say fought me where I was like, I'm done. I don't want to do this. God, you told me to, but I did it. I did what I could. I did my part. And he basically said to me, that ain't what I asked you. I ain't asked you to give up. You want to see this through to the finish line. And I mean, I literally, when I took my test, I literally said to God, I said, you don't understand. I am done. I am frustrated. I am done. And I literally said, I'm taking this test and I'm picking any answer. And if I fail, I'll just take it again. Whatever, I'm done. And I did exactly that. I promise you, I did exactly that. So at the end, when I did that last question and that blue thing came across the screen talking about you pass, I cried. I literally cried because I was in shock and I was stuck on stupid. What they used to say back in the day, stuck on stupid. I literally was staring at the screen. And because of all that the enemy fought me on, I literally, that proctor was done with me because I did it from home. I did it and it's proctored. And I put that proctor through a lot. Well, she put me through a lot. But she wrote in the chat, she says, because I must have stared at the screen for a good few minutes. And she says, can we go now? Because it was literally like almost 10 o'clock at night by the time I finished that test. And I was scheduled to take it like, I think it was like 5:30. So it was absolutely crazy. But it reminds me, it was the same thing that happened to me when I purchased my home. I wanted to give up. They gave me, the enemy fought me tooth and nail, even up to the closing date. They wanted more money and this and that, blah, blah. And I told my other mother, I said, listen, I give up. I don't want this house no more. And it was being built from scratch. It was a brand new home being built. I was like, I'm done. Every time I turn around, they want something else. And she said to me, she says, I don't care if that house was a 2x2. It's going to be your 2x2. And you're going to
Amen.
get it and you're going to stick this thing out. And that was the best thing that she could have said to me. And it's like I heard her in my voice even when taking that insurance exam. So I have learned, and I try to tell my team this all the time, if the enemy is fighting you, that's because he knows what's in store for you. He may not see the full picture, but he can get a glimpse that he knows God is about to do something and he's trying to deter you from getting it done. So, yeah, I absolutely love that we're in the industry. I love that we got into the industry. And no, it was not easy. I hate tests. I absolutely hate tests. In fact, I get complete anxiety on having to take a test. But when I tell you, when God brings you to a thing, he will bring you through it. So that is great. So the next question, why do you believe building a safe financial safety net is important for everyone, regardless of their income?
Well, that's important because, per my experience, life happens. Life is for the living, and as long as you're living, something absolutely, undoubtedly will come up in your life that affects you financially. Whether you are rich, whether you are poor, whether you are Christian, whether you are Muslim, it does not matter. Whether you are Black American, it does not matter. So it is always great to just assume the worst, but absolutely pray for the best.
And I absolutely agree because it was at one point, my mouth is very powerful as far as the words that I speak. I know if I speak a thing, it's going to come forth. That's how God has blessed me with that. And every time I speak about people creating like a 3 to 6 months emergency funds, I always get hit with that thing and something will go wrong, or like I'll make an example, like the refrigerator will go out and I'll have to pay a repair bill for that. I'd be like, really, God? Like I was talking to the people, like you gonna hit me with this right now? But that is part of life and why life happens. And I'm a big believer in tithing. And with tithing, I believe that I have been kept from a lot of things that could have went wrong, or being in need of things because I tithe. So I think that is definitely something that helps people when it comes to providing or creating a financial safety net. Okay, now I want to talk about what are some key components of a financial safety net, and what does that look like for most people?
Well, to me, for most people, it's as you reference, is having 3 to 6 months of income in the bank. In my opinion, is 100% also having a permanent life insurance policy, at least one. It also includes having some kind of form of retirement funds set up as well, and it also encompasses having good, strong credit.
The C word, the C word. I love it. I know you're very passionate when it comes to the C word, the credit, 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 credit. So you said a lot. So you said that you would recommend that, people have that emergency funds in case something happens. You'll always have that person that says, and I've been there, guys. So believe me, I have been there. I know what it is to have, and I know what it is to have not. But you always will have one out of five people that'll say, listen, I try to build 3 to 6 months of income, but every time I turn around, something is happening to set me back. So I'll take 5 steps forward and 10 steps backwards. Can you just give an encouragement to somebody that might be feeling that way?
By somebody, you mean everybody?
That part.
Seriously, right now, I think everybody's feeling the pinch a little. Guys, please, if that's how you feel, there's more to it than doing anything illegal, anything unethical, amoral. I know the corner is there. Please do not be tempted. Fast money is fast in, fast out. It's not
That's
worth
right.
it. It
That's
gets
right.
you fast into a place you don't want to go to.
That's
Actually, several. But I think just if you at least stay consistent, it does not matter if you can squirrel away a $100 per month or $20 per month.
yes.
$100 per paycheck, $20 per paycheck. If every time you think, you know what, I got food at home, but I want to go get some Chick-fil-A, I don't feel like cooking, guess what? The $12 to $15 you would have spent on that Chick-fil-A,
Right.
that could have gone towards your safety net as well. And your mama was right. You got food at the house,
That's
baby.
right. Imagine somebody feeding a family of five going to Chick-fil-A. That's like what, 60, $70 right there?
Probably more than that, honestly, these days. But again, that's still, and I get it. Everybody is busy. We have things to do. If you're a parent, you don't know when you will have me time to do something just for yourself. You don't know when you're going to have money left over from taking care of all the bills and for daycare and for extracurricular activities. When you're going to have enough money left over from that to squirrel away to go towards your savings and a safety net. It doesn't matter. Again, just at least once a week, even one time per week, forego the fast food. One time per week, say, you know what? I'm not going to pay my subscription for this app this month because I
Ooh.
haven't bought anything from there in the last 6 months. Why do I still pay for it? One time, just one time per week. Take a little bit of a shorter drive somewhere if you have somewhere to go, if you possibly can. Save on gas. Just little tiny baby steps is all that matters as long as you're consistent. That is the key.
And it does matter. It's funny, as I was listening to you speak, it made me remember back when I was talking earlier about purchasing my home, and I was determined to have this house. And I remember saving like it was like my life depended on it because people told me, don't buy a house. And I'm a type of person, there's a little tidbit for those that don't know about Lady G, that you tell me not to do something, I'm going to tell you I'm going to do it. It's a little wicked. My other mother used to say, please don't tell that child not to do something because she's just going to go and find a way to do it. But they were telling me not to buy a house. And the people that were telling, well, the person that told me meant well. But in that day and time, I can understand why they were saying that. But I saved and I saved and I saved. And I remember I didn't go, well, I can even go further back than that. I can remember to my senior year in high school. My grandparents raised me. My grandparents and my great grandmother raised me, and I lost my grandfather, who was like my father, at the age of 16, and my heart was broken. It was shattered. I did not have to want for a thing with that man around. I was his baby. I was the firstborn, first grandchild. I was spoiled rotten, and he set the tone for how a man, if he was to come into my life, should treat me. And no one has been able to reach the standard. But he he taught me a lot. But when I lost him, it was like life changed. I
Yeah.
didn't do my senior trip. I didn't go to my prom. I didn't do none of those things. Why? Because I was saving. Because I had determined that I was going to move out of my mother's house at the age of 18 on my 18th birthday. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. I needed to have back then, I don't know what it is now, but you had to have first month, last month, and I knew I was going through a realtor. So I had to have the fee for the realtor. So 3 months of rent. And I saved and I saved and I saved. And that's how long I was saving for that many years. I didn't have no one to say, I'm going to pay for your senior trip, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And so I remember that, saving for that. Then I remember when I got into the apartment, I had saved enough, I was able to furnish the apartment. And then I fast forward to purchasing the home. When someone told me not to purchase the home, I said, no, I'm purchasing the home. I did it. And then somebody else said, all right, you got the home now. So it's a 3 level home. So they said, well, you can just go buy you like a cot or something, a mattress to lay down on. Don't worry about furnishing the home. You just need something to lay your head down or whatever. And I said, wait a minute, but that's not what God told me. They didn't know I had already saved. So I literally had all my furniture for every room on every level already ordered. And it was just waiting for a delivery date because the delivery date kept getting pushed back because they kept pushing my closing back. So I know what it is to save even when it hurts. I didn't go with the girlfriends out. I wasn't going to dinners. I wasn't doing none of that. I was practically living out of my car. I'm waiting for this closing. So it is very important when you know that there is a need that you focus on the now and sacrificing so that you can get what you want later. So many people work backwards. We spend now, and then when something happens, we don't have nothing to pull on or to dish out. Maybe I'll do an episode even on the retirement. Like we're young, we should be building for retirement now, because when retirement comes, many people tell me they see what they get in the pension and the social security check, which by the way, neither is guaranteed to be around forever.
Mhm.
So if they can't survive on what they're getting on pension and social security now, and they didn't build a safety net, then where does that leave them? Going to find a job and work until the grave. And somebody find me a scripture that says that God wants us to work to the grave. So I do know
Well,
what it is to sacrifice. Yes.
I was just going to say really quickly, if changes are not made, Social Security is slated to deplete more in funds as of 2035. And again, I would like people to know it was never intended to be a
That part.
permanent financial solution.
That
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that part. I need that to be stated. Social Security was never intended to be permanent. It was supposed to be temporary. And the people just started living longer. And before they knew it, it was out of control. And I believe, this is Lady G's opinion, that that is one of the reasons why this country is in debt today. So you are Absolutely correct. So if people, I have been off of Wall Street now about 17 years, and prior to leaving Wall Street, they were talking about stopping pensions. I know even recently companies that are doing away with pensions. So if people are depending on pension and Social Security, what you gonna have if those two things go away?
Yeah, pension, what is that? I am 40 years old and
Your job
this
doesn't give you that, or they took it
no,
away already.
no, I don't know if they ever offered it, but we do not currently have that. We have 1K. The company does match up to 6%. I'm not 1000% positive, but I believe they also contribute a little bit if you don't contribute also. And this is from my regular job, not my life passion of life insurance.
Mm,
But yes, most companies, people my age, we don't have a clue what pension is. It doesn't exist in our world. It never did, it never will. We don't have, there's just too many people, like you said. It
wow.
just, it just is that way, which is the reason we have to do better about educating ourselves on the many benefits of financial literacy.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you mentioned it, and I'm not even gonna, because we're getting short on time, I'm not gonna talk much about it, but you did mention 401ks, and I will just say this tidbit. If anyone listening has a 401k with a company that they're no longer employed with, we will be leaving our details in the description, the caption of this podcast. Reach out to us because there's some things you should know, and I'm going to leave it right there. You also, so we said the emergency funds, you said have permanent life insurance. I will very easily say why you said that, because if someone has temporary insurance, it's going to end at some point. And I'm a big believer and pray long life of over everyone that will listen to this podcast episode. At any point, I pray long life over you. So I have this running joke, and we do offer term, and we try to place our clients in term. I know Amber would agree with me when it's right, in the rightful place, when it should be used. But I'm a big believer, if you're going to get a 10, 20, 30-year term and that's all you're going to get, God got to be confused, because I know I hear him saying you praying to him to keep long life over you, let you live long, but you get a 10, 20, 30-year term. Which one is it? You want him to take you out of here, or do you want to live long? So that's a whole nother matter that we can get into at another time. You also, I want to get back to the C word, credit. I'm going to give my tidbit, but I want you to just touch on why credit is important.
Oh, well, first of all, I really don't appreciate you using credit as the C word. The
I
C word
know.
to me
I
is
don't like the
chocolate.
other C word. Don't
The
say it.
C word for me is chocolate. I don't understand what we're doing here. I don't appreciate it. I don't deserve it. I
I like
will not
that.
tolerate it.
I like
It's
that.
okay though. It's okay. My mother loves me. I'll be
I'm
reminded
glad
later.
your mama loves
Anywho, yes, 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 yes. So credit, and I have to credit my mother. She is the one who has preached about credit to my sisters and I my entire life. And I started developing my credit in college.
you.
When
Wow.
you know college students, they know that you don't know anything about, well, they assume you don't know anything about finances. So they want to bombard you with credit offers. Well, I'm lining them up and I'm calling my mother saying, okay, I have 4 credit card offers. These are the terms, these are
Wow.
the interest rates, these are the limits they're offering.
Wow.
And she said, okay, 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 that's the one you go with. And she explained to me what to do. That is something I've carried with me. Of course, my credit has not always been great, but at the age of 23, fresh out of college, I bought my first house with no down payment with a 793 credit score, brand new.
Wow.
No money from anyone except for myself and my then partner at the time. That was
Um,
it. It was
wow.
a beautiful, beautiful blessing when my friends were all still staying with their parents, which is not a problem. I think looking back, I'm like, oh, I wish I had stayed at home a little longer to save, save, save. But hindsight is always 2020. But it's also something I'm currently very excited about teaching my nieces and nephews about credit because of how much it's benefited me. There have been times that I did not know how I'd eat. I didn't know how I'd get gas. I didn't know how I'd pay for something here or there. Just, sporadically throughout the years because again, life just happens.
Yes.
And after an 8-day hospitalization that totaled, I think roughly around $300,000, like everything included. I had to file bankruptcy.
Jesus.
The way that I stayed afloat after that, credit. It did affect my credit score. However, my credit was strong enough to handle a bit of a hit.
Wow.
And I have bounced back. Even then, my credit score was stronger than people who never filed bankruptcy before. My credit now, that was, I believe, 2015 or 16. My credit now is, I think my FICO last time I checked, it was 742, which isn't bad.
Wow.
It's considered good, but of course, I want something
It's
much, much higher.
considered good in many people's eyes.
It is, especially again considering I've filed bankruptcy before. uh, which was a blessing to be able to do it and to have bounced back. Still, credit, credit, credit. Cash is king, but if you don't have enough cash to buy it twice, you need credit. And
Wow.
you need to learn how to leverage that credit as well. If you have $50,000 in the bank and you have no credit, all you can spend is $50,000.
Dollars.
If I have no money in the bank and I have an 800 credit score, I can spend hundreds of thousands. And
Wow.
that's something I'm passing down to the children in my family because it is important that each one teach one.
Are you passing it down?
Well, my youngest niece and nephew are 9 and 6, and they are on my credit. I have them on multiple credit cards as authorized users. I have a perfect payment history, which is boosting their credit. I have
So
also
you
added
wouldn't recommend this to someone that is not good at keeping
no. If
perfect
you are
credit
not good
payment
at
history.
consistently paying your bills in full and on time every month as they are due, not according to when you get paid or have the money, do not do this. I have multiple people on multiple accounts
Wow.
as authorized users. None of them has a physical card, however. I have the physical cards. I am
That
the
part.
only one with online access. I'm the
That
only
part.
one with physical card access.
That part.
And I'm not worried about it because I'm doing all the spending because I also know for a fact I'm doing all the paying as well. So it's building their credit that way and just teaching them, talking to them about it. And I have one of my nieces, my baby, I have twin nieces. They're 20 years old. They're college girls. And one of them just bought her first car. I am so proud of her.
Wow.
And the day after she purchased that car, she was accepted into nursing school.
Look at that. Look at
It's
God.
nothing but the Lord that did that, and my baby was blessed, and she did have some difficulty about a year ago, but the blessing is that she's triumphed and the Lord has brought her this far,
Wow.
and when she was considering purchasing the car, my mother told her, "Hey, call and talk to your auntie about this because she's good with finances and credit." So we talked. That baby was taking notes the whole conversation. She
Have the
took notes.
conversations, guys, with your kid.
Yes, and they listen, and they perk up because what kid doesn't want to hear about money? Sure, yeah, money. Okay, yeah. But you have to make it interesting, you have to make it educational, and you cannot talk down to them for what they simply do not know because you at some point didn't know either.
Let's talk about that. There's a few things, it's something else that you said, and I want to touch on that too, because you said that life happened, you almost lost your life, and you came with your life, but with $300,000 in debt, which helps me to just put in a tidbit. We ain't gonna touch a lot on it, but I just want to put this tidbit into the listeners that what I hear is Amber letting you know just because you may have health insurance doesn't mean health insurance is going to cover everything. Even if you don't have health insurance, yes, I could see a huge bill. But there are people that have even that large a bill with health insurance because health insurance does not cover everything, which is another reason why we talk about life insurance because there is things called living benefits that can be the safety net financially to cover the things that your health insurance will not. So I wanted to say that. I
Well,
also go ahead.
just real quick, I wanted to clarify. I did have very, very good health insurance coverage. I did not receive a bill for that total, but I received an explanation of benefits
Wow,
showing me that it would
that
have
was
been
not
billed to
much.
me. I
Mm.
met my out of pocket maximum for the health insurance for that year, so I didn't have to pay anything above that specific amount out of pocket, but it still was way more than I was going to be willing to, not willing, actually able to financially paid.
Wow.
So, and just to be clear also, medical debt is the number one reason for bankruptcy in this country.
Right.
The world's leader in what, everything, and people have to go into bankruptcy for medical debt. But anywho,
That's
sorry.
no, you're absolutely right. And I recently made a reposted. There is one of our well-known preachers here. He was he was live with his service, and I think it was like a Bible study or something like that. But one of his parishioners got up. He had them come up and give their testimony. So just what I just said. Unfortunately, it was the C word that we don't like to talk about, but there was a medication that they told him he would have to take. And that medication, I can't remember. I'm not even exaggerating. It may have been like $30,000. If it wasn't $30,000 a pill, it was 30,000 just for a filling of the pills. And it was amazing because the preacher said, "Isn't this something? The one thing that could save the life of this person, they can't afford it, and the insurance is refusing to pay for it." But God made a way. Yeah, God made a way where that medication came through. But I posted, I got to go find it so I can put the link in the caption so you guys can go listen to it. It's an amazing testimony,
True.
but it also is an eye opener that, yes, unfortunately, there are people that leave this earth not because they wanted to, but because they couldn't afford to pay for the medications that would keep them here. Okay, so I want to touch on the fact that you guys heard Amber say that her mom taught her about credit. Well, guess what, guys? That is not my story. I was not that person. Literally, I mean, I am blessed to have been raised by my grandparents, my great grandmother, and eventually, some things took a turn. But when we talk about credit, I don't ever remember this being spoken about. Forget about even credit and life insurance. I never heard it spoken about at the dinner table. I never heard it spoken about talking about paying bills. No, I just never heard. The only thing I recall is that when I would be at my great grandmother's house, the first Saturday of every month, her siblings would come around to her house and they would sit around the dining room table, and somebody would have a book and a pen, and there was names in that book. Come to find out, it was dues. They all paid dues, and it was all put into a bank account for anyone that passed away that did not have life insurance, that the dues would pay for their funeral. So I was young, and I now hear that, yeah, there was a guy that came on a bike and would come and collect payments for life insurance, those that wanted it or whatever. But other than that, I never heard about life insurance. Credit, what was that? I honestly share this. This is a very transparent moment. I share it all the time when I'm speaking, that I grew up not knowing a thing about credit and thinking credit didn't mean a thing. And when I say that, I mean that in every sense of the word. First of all, I grew up realizing that someone was using my social security number before I was even legal to use it on my own. Back in the day, there was this thing called Fingerhut. They were taking out Fingerhut accounts, and the electric was in my name, all these types of things, right? So, with not being told about credit, I did not utilize it correctly. And this is something that reminds me that God takes care of fools and babies, because I remember when I went for my first car, going to the dealership and they saying denied. And I'm like, denied? I'm 18. How you denying me? That's because there was no credit.
Right.
Then God spoke to me. Even back then, He was speaking to me. He told me, it was like months later, maybe about 6 months. He told me, go to a different dealership. Went to a different dealership, approved. So I was like, okay, I like this. I also, in the same thing you was talking earlier, when I got out of high school and I went straight from high school into, I literally found my first apartment by my birthday, like I said I was going to do, a month late, but still got it. I had nothing but credit cards coming, credit cards coming, credit card coming. And I'm like, free money. I was like, you mean there's a $3,000 limit here, a $5,000 limit here? It's free money. And I'm just charging, not paying back. Then there's late fees. Then there's overpayment fees. Like I was the commercial of why you should not give somebody a credit card. I literally was just damaging and even damaging to the fact that I didn't even know I was damaging because I literally did not have a clue. I literally did not have a clue. And I remember saying to myself, who needs credit? If I want something and if I can't get it on credit, if I don't have cash, it ain't meant for me to have. And so getting approved for that first car, I was like, okay, cool. And then there's other things that I tried to do. Like I've owned about 3 or 4 cars in my lifetime. And every time I went, I really did not go basing it on credit. I honestly, honest the truth. I believe everything that I got was God giving it to me. It was the favor of God because credit was not it. Because I had jacked it up so much without the understanding on how to maneuver it. So fast forward when people like you come to educate and say, listen, credit matters. You may have been able to get things without the credit, but you paid it at a very costly cost. Like that interest rate could have been a little bit lower had you had a better credit score. In my head, I was like, people would say that to me, and I'd be like, I don't care. I got what I wanted. I don't care if I'm paying whatever interest rate. I got what I wanted, not realizing that that money could have been utilized for something else. Not realizing that in business, credit matters, personal credit matters, using other people's money matters. So I am thankful to have learned from people like Amber and other folks that teach and educate on credit that if you're going to put something on credit, make sure you have the amount in the bank so that you can pay it off be when it comes due and pay or definitely pay make the payment that's due by the due date but pay it off by before the statement date so that it can have a positive effect on your credit. And you want to, and Amber, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you want to, if you they always want to see something on it, so stay below that less than 30% threshold, so that anything above that, that's going to damage your credit. It's going to bring that number lower because they feel like you're using more than the credit that they want you to use. So anything you would touch on that, Amber?
Yes. Just to clarify, it is not the statement date you should pay your bill by. If you charge something on the 5th, you have a closing date of, say, the 25th. You need to make a payment on what you charged before the 25th.
Mm.
The closing date is the day that they tack on all of the interest to everything you have charged since the last closing date.
So,
And the closing date goes on a billing cycle. If you look at usually it's the top right corner of your statement, it will show you the billing cycle and it'll say 31 days per site in this cycle. And sometimes it varies, but you definitely, if you charge something, you want to pay it so that you avoid the interest fees on there. However, if you never pay interest, you don't make the bank any money, and that is also going to ding your credit. So you do want to carry a little bit of a balance if you can. But again, like Lady G said, nothing more than 30%. I really recommend way below that, a fraction of that, maybe 3%. Try to stick to 10 at the most. And again, life happens. I'm right here. I know it. You cannot always pay things off in full. You cannot always pay things off within six
right.
months. You may have to charge several $1,000s on something, and it may take you a couple years to pay it off. That is fine too. Just remember, consistency is key. As long as you are consistently making at least the minimum payment, you will be fine. Now, if you're just making the minimum payment, you are not knocking down that debt
Yeah.
much at all. If I'm not mistaken, regular bank fee wants you to pay, a regular bank, I'm sorry, they want you to pay. 1% on your debt to knock it down.
Wow.
However, if you have a credit card with a credit union, they're going to charge you more because they want you to pay it down at 3% instead of that 1%. Their goal is to have you pay off your debt faster. The bank's goal is to have you pay it off longer because that's making them compound interest as they make on your money, which only makes simple interest. You do make compound interest, however, in certain life insurance policies.
That plug right there. Thank you. You took the words right out my mouth. Lord Jesus. If you
Gotta
want
let that be known.
let
But
that be known.
they make compound interest off of you. Put your money somewhere that is making compound interest. And we can break that down for anyone who does not know the difference. And please do not hesitate to say you don't know the difference. If
That
you'd like, I can expound.
wow. So I think that's gonna be something that if you guys want to know in depth, you need to get on one of our calendars so we can break it down for you because you really need to know the knowledge. Let get into something that compound interest works for you, not against you. And that's what we're trying to get into your ears. All right. Okay, so we're wrapping it up, but I just want to reiterate or ask a question, Cody. Amber, I just want to ask a question, Amber. How can someone assess whether their safety net is strong enough or needs improvement? Do you have any advice on that?
That's a good question that I have honestly not really thought about. But I guess the primary thing I can think of is mapping out all of your monthly expenses. Map that out, see what the total is, multiply that by at least three. If you don't have anywhere near that number, your safety net is insufficient. Do
Mm,
not be dismayed. Mine is insufficient sometimes too. That is okay.
yeah.
Life does happen again, but just to have, you need to at least have the mindset and the mentality to want that cushion
Wow.
for when things do arise.
And just a plug, we do show you when we have our one on one sessions with you, we do show you how to utilize life insurance like that and how to have enough life insurance that, at minimum 3 times your salary in case a life event happens, God forbid, critical, chronic, terminal illness, etc. So yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. What would you say are the top mistakes people make when it comes to financial preparedness? And I will just say, we just spend, 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 and don't think about what's going to happen tomorrow.
True, I agree with that. Especially, piggybacking off of what you just talked about. You just wanted what you wanted. You didn't care how much you paid. Well, you didn't realize you probably paying $20,000 more than you should have. That could have yielded you a savings. And if you have good credit too, you can get lower interest rates, you can get lower car insurance. People don't know that part of it. It also can affect your job. If they see that you do not have good credit, they will absolutely assume you are irresponsible. So just not really thinking about the bigger picture and how it's going to affect you also. And then not preparing for the inevitable, which is the only guarantee of life, death.
What tools or resources do you recommend for individuals who want to take control of their financial well being?
Hmm.
I know you already said at least one where if they want to take control, if they want to build good credit, if they can get someone that they trust and that they know manages their bills, they can get on their credit as far as a authorized user that can help build for them. That's one tool. The resources, if they have, I suggest if they have issues with credit, get into credit. There's credit counselors. There's people that I could even give a few tips on literally how to build your credit score up. You don't have to give someone thousands of dollars to do it. You could do some things or even on your own. So I don't know if there's other resources that you would recommend for people as far as taking control of their financial well-being. And I'll throw out there too, maybe you might want to get an account that a portion of your paycheck is deposited into and you don't have the debit card or access to the account. Somebody you trust does. That could be a resource also. So,
The main resource, and it's, I guess, two that I could really say, is your mouth and your fingers.
mm,
Open your mouth, ask questions of people that you know that you can trust and that you believe to be financially savvy. Do not be afraid to ask questions.
mm.
And your fingers is at your fingertip. We're on them all day, your phone.
Wow.
You can look everything up. There's multiple apps that help you budget. I don't use those. I'm just mainly
No, I
because
don't.
I'm more old school, but I write everything out and I go from there. It's fine. It's easy for me that way. However, find whatever way it's easiest for you, but definitely speak up or at least look up what you need to know.
Right. All right. How can someone balance building a financial safety net with other financial goals like saving for a home or retirement? I will say this, and I touched on it. I know it was umpteen years ago, but I guess I wasn't one. Everybody's situation is different. May have 5 kids, may have 2 kids, may have no kids. But I made sure to not go and splurge on things because I wanted that home. So sometimes you just have to balance knowing and having the mindset. I think that's what I would say on that. Having the mindset is how someone could balance building that financial safety net because you have to make up in your mind that you want what you want and you don't care what you got to do to get it. Anything else that you would add to that, Amber?
I would recommend delaying gratification.
Mm, that's good.
Like I
Right.
referenced earlier, the Chick-fil-A scenario, this is not a dig at Chick-fil-A, it's actually a compliment because I think I work
I
there, I
love
think I
Chick fil
live
A, just
there, I don't
yummy.
know. Yeah, okay. So, delaying gratification is a major thing, that will help with that balance. Like I said, it could be something as small as a tiny little treat for yourself here and there. But the main key again is the first thing that I mentioned, consistency. Even if you can only give a little over here because
Yeah.
that's your saving, you can only save a little because you have this bulk that you need to pay on a bill.
Right.
Take care of that bill because that's doing you two favors. That's paying the bill and it's boosting your credit, which is also going to gain you more financial access, more money access to currency. I'm sorry, I'm tongue tied here. But yeah, that will be the biggest thing is the consistency and delayed gratification,
Well,
in my opinion.
I love it. I absolutely love it. The last final thought for this evening, I would say, Amber, let the listeners know what's one piece of advice you would give to listeners about getting started with their financial preparedness.
The best advice I can give you is to reach out to myself or Lady G. Truthfully, Lady G is someone that I trust. She is someone that I respect. And when I decided to partner with her, it had nothing to do with making a sale. Our conversations were about helping people and educating people. We never
Right.
even discussed commission,
That's right.
how it's going to we did not discuss those
That's
things.
right.
So I think this is a very good place to start. And it's faith based also. I'm not afraid to admit I am a Christian.
That's it.
However, I respect your faith if that is not what it is. And just I'm here to have the conversation. I'm here to help. I'm here to educate.
Love it. I totally concur with everything Amber said. And I want to say to everyone, listen to what she said. Change your mindset. Do what needs to be done. I want to thank you, Amber, for joining me on the first episode of season 2 of Lady G's Financial Legacy Pop Up Podcast. I am thankful for this conversation. I am prayerful that those that listen to this episode will get some insight into where they're going and some help along the way. And I want you guys to stay tuned for the next episode. And I want you to go now and click subscribe. This podcast is on YouTube and it is everywhere that you listen to your podcast music. All right. Until next time, I want each and every one of you to know that the best is yet to come. Go have a great evening, morning, afternoon, whenever you're listening to this on purpose. Shalom.